Welcome back to the channel. My name is Brad, and today we're going to put two symbols together that I never thought I would talk about, ULTY and SVOL. They're going to be on the same chart. If that's what you're looking for, stick around. So both of these funds have had changes over the last 6 months. SVOL being more recent, ULTY being about August. We're going to just look at the charts, discuss this, and maybe these are something that you want to take into consideration, or maybe not. So if I look at a 1 year, and this is a year-over-year price chart, it doesn't look so great for either one of these funds. SVOL is down 5.5%, and ULTY is down 57% on a 1 year, year-over-year price chart. If I take that same consideration, 1 year, year-over-year, and put it on a total returns chart, it looks a little bit better, but definitely not keeping up to SPY. That's just something I'm going to point out. Just doesn't seem to be keeping up to SPY on a 1 year, year-over-year. But like I said, these funds have made changes, and we're going to start looking at since they made changes. ULTY made a change about 6 months ago, thereabouts. So let's see what's going on now after 6 months. Well, on a price chart, ULTY's only down 24%. So I have a problem struggling with funds continuously going down in price. It is just something that I struggle with, but maybe you want to get into it. Just thought I'd throw it out for conversation. Now, SVOL did not make those changes until later, and they're still down 4.2% from a 6-month price chart. But now, let's go ahead and take a look at these on a total returns chart, and maybe things change around for us. On a total returns chart, oh my, 6 months, ULTY is doing much better than SPY. Very interesting. I struggle with the price, but that is my personal struggle. It might not be your struggle. And if we look at SVOL, it's really lagging there on a 6 months chart, but they didn't make changes until the beginning of the year. I'm going to link the article to their changes down below that really happened at the end of December, beginning of January, of what they changed to the fund, so you can see if it's something for you. Now, let's go ahead and look at a year-to-date chart. Just a year-to-date chart, just to show you what's happened year-to-date. I look at ULTY, and it's down 7.25%. That is where I struggle. That is where I struggle. And if I look at SVOL, wait a second there, Mr. SVOL, talking about SVOL like being a person, they're up 3.8% on price. Now let's look at a total returns chart. If I look at total returns, oh, look at there. ULTY is leading the way again, and SVOL is beating SPY. That is exactly what we like to see. We like to see something beating SPY or being very close to SPY, especially as an income investor. Just saying that, hey, we're going to take something like this, but I just can't get over the price. That is just me. It might be right for you. I'm going to go on just a little bit farther and just go ahead and start preaching about somebody out on Twitter keeps on saying this ZVOL. Getting exhausted about ZVOL. I actually still hold that one share that I'm trying to get rid of. So ZVOL on a 6 months price chart, and this is when we had that August problem. Yeah, ZVOL on a price chart is down 17%, where SVOL is down 4.26%. Very interesting. But Brad, it's all about total returns. Talking about myself as a third person just because I can. And you know what? I'm going to continue to do that just because there's a mouse in my pocket. Anyway, total returns. SVOL is up 3.23%, but ZVOL on a total returns 6 months chart is down 4.13. Not something that we're expecting. Not expecting this at all. I thought ZVOL was this big payer, and it just doesn't seem that they're coming through. But wait a second, Brad. You don't understand. Go year to date. year-to-date price change. Yeah, no, ZVOL is still falling away, minus 3.9, where SVOL is up. But Brad, it's all about total returns. Brad, it's all about total returns. Come on, Brad, stop being so Mr. Negative. Okay, let's go ahead and take a look at a total returns chart for you. Just go ahead and prove that point. Yeah, ZVOL still down minus 1.4%. Yeah, that's just not doing it for Brad. And SVOL is up 5.11%. So maybe it's time to get back into SVOL. I am going to say at this time, no, personally. But just because I personally don't get into it doesn't mean that you shouldn't be getting into it. It's just not right for me, but it might be right for you. Now, there was a lot of negative comments about Yield Max yesterday and Roundhill and all that. And I'm going to just go ahead and try to set the record straight on that real quick. If you give me a couple seconds here. So I am not for Roundhill or Yield Max. I think Roundhill's calls, they don't manage. They just set it and forget it. And that's the way they've been doing it since day one. That's why I actually give you the price predictions, because it's so easy to do, because they don't do anything with it. Now, what I've seen from Yield Max is they're managing the calls. Somehow, when I look at yesterday's numbers, Roundhill lost money again. And I keep on pointing it out week after week. But Yield Max and their strategy, which is slightly different than Roundhill's, they managed those calls. They made money. How did that happen? Both have the same opportunity. Now, I personally don't like either one of the funds. And it has nothing to do with how Roundhill writes the calls or how Yield Max writes the calls. It's due to the mechanics of the poor man cover call. If you don't get that, I don't know what to say. I really don't know what to say. It might just be mechanics, but mechanics of the funds matter. Just like I'm pointing out ULTY and SVOL. They change the mechanics, and when they change the mechanics, you know how these funds have done better because the mechanics changed. I'm going to say the same thing about Roundhill and Yield Max on their 0 DTE. Because of the mechanics of the poor man cover call, it's just not something that's right for me. It's not right for anybody, but that's personal opinion. Now, I like T-SPY. I like T-SPY because the mechanics are different than the poor man cover calls. That's all. I wish he was a little more aggressive on his calls. Personal opinion. I wish he would manage them a little bit better. Personal opinion. So at the end of the day, it has nothing to do about who does the better calls. It really doesn't. It has to do with the mechanics. I'm sitting here telling you today, Yield Max with their synthetics is a terrible investment. Just terrible investment. Now, Yield Max with the ULTY strategy that they changed in August appears to have good legs. Now, I just don't like the underlyings of ULTY. Just don't like it. Personally, I can't get over how that actually works. But Yield Max has two other funds that run on the same type of strategies of ULTY. Yes, believe it or not, maybe I didn't talk about it enough, but they're one on crypto and the one on AI run on the same mechanics as ULTY. It just limits their choices of stocks or ETFs or getting into Bitcoin and everything else. It just limits what they can put in there. And that is what I like. I just like not having ULTY, having certain funds or stocks that I just shake my head on, because they're getting these just because of the high volatility. It has nothing to do with serving a certain sector. And that's just personal opinion. Now, I'm going to go farther on. Yield Max with their 12% payers, I think that's what they're calling them, 12% payers. They appear, Soxy and Biggie, they appear to be good funds. I think that they manage them well, but they are not synthetics. So far, the only synthetics that appear to work very well is the NEOS synthetic on BTCI and the Curve synthetics. And as you may or may not know, Curve and NEOS were together a long time ago. They have separated ways, and Curve has brought it back in-house to do those calls, but they're still using the same mechanisms that was developed with NEOS. They appear to be working well. That is just the only synthetic that I see out there working correctly, or correctly for Brad. Now, they are working correctly per Yield Max and what they want to do, but what they want to do is not what I would invest in. So I don't think synthetics from Yield Max or synthetics from Roundhill are very good at all. Just not at all. Any synthetics that these funds are putting out, it just doesn't seem to be working as well as people should be doing. That's just my personal opinion. You can love me, you can hate me for expressing it. So feel free to leave me a like or comment or anything else. I'm just expressing my opinion about what I'm seeing with synthetics versus holding the underlying. I tend to go to holding the underlying to get away from the mechanics of the synthetics. And I'm sorry, I really think everybody needs to take a big breath and say, do I want synthetics that I know can have NAV erosion, or do I want to hold the underlying, or go to a Curve or something like that that appears to be able to handle the synthetics without causing NAV erosion? It's all up to you. So until next time, God bless.